You often hear me talk about questions and how questions determine outcomes, how questions determine your life, and it comes down to how good are you or how good are the questions. It actually has nothing to do with you, but how good are the questions you're asking. And I want to take a different view on this. I want to take it from kind of a correlation causation point of view because I've had a couple conversations with people this week that have been out of the market for the last few years because of a number they're looking at, and they're looking at that number because of a question they're asking. Hey everybody, this is RC Peck, and this is my weekend thought. I'm told that this is not a podcast because it's not. It's more of now a blog and a video and my thoughts and my commentary on the market and what I think is actually most important, not just what's interesting, but what's most important for your money. So it's great to have you here. And we're going to talk about dominoes, and specifically, is it causal or is it correlation that has that next domino fall? And looking at the difference between causation and correlation and the question you're asking. So look at this price chart right here. It's not a price chart. Look at this data. This is Robert Shiller's data. It's the cyclically adjusted price to earnings ratio. So basically 40 quarters of PE ratios, smoothing them out. And it basically says if that cap PE ratio, or the cap ratio, which is cyclically adjusted, if it's between 20 and 25, the kind of the expected outcome of money to grow over the next 3 years is 8.9% or 8.6 or 5.7. And then right below it, if it gets above 25, then basically the numbers get really bad if that cap ratio is above 25. Now the cap ratio today is at 30, so it's not just a little bit above 25, but it's way above 25. But does it matter? So look at this price chart here. This is a price chart of that cap ratio, and you see those two vertical red bars. That's basically when things got really bad from a cap ratio, from a price to earnings ratio, right? It breaks the 20 mark, and then it quickly gets to 25 and goes higher. So when it breaks the 25, there was still another 3 years left of the bull market in the 1990s. It broke that magic 25 prior to June of 1997. So way before June of 1997, this cap ratio was moving north and heading north. And that kept a lot of people out of the market. A lot of deep value people were not invested in the stock market in 1997, 1998, and 1999. Now, the reason why that matters is because I think they were asking the wrong question, or as I've said before, they were fighting the last war. What is most important is price direction. And people have often said there's a huge correlation between price to earnings ratio and the price. There's a general correlation, but how much correlation matters? What I want to know most is causal. What causes something? Does one thing cause something else? And so we're back in that nosebleed range where this cap ratio is above 30. And even before we got above 30, it was above 25. Now, I do believe that long term, that 3 years and that 5 years and that 10 years, those ratios probably still hold true where there'll be no growth for a long only never get out conventional approach in the next 5 years. And in the next 10 years, if you do everything the right way, that growth will be just 4%. And that's if you do everything the right way. But even that, people who stay US domestic are not going to see those numbers. Now, the NASDAQ went up 400% with that number going higher, with that cap ratio going higher. So there was no causation between those two. And the S&P doubled in that time period. So I want you to be really careful in what questions you're asking yourself and what numbers you're looking at, because valuation kind of just tells you the temperature. And it is true that I think it holds pretty strong of what will happen over the next 5 or 10 years. But that doesn't mean the next 2 years or 3 years can't be a pretty amazing time for people to protect and grow their money. Now, just because causal and correlation need to be separated even more, I want to point out that the per capita cheese consumption has an incredibly high correlation, a 95% correlation with the number of people who die by becoming tangled in their bed sheets. And you can see this correlation went on for 10 years, the red line and the black line. And so that is actually correlated, a 95% correlation. The thing is, there's no causal factors between it. And just one more, the divorce rate in Maine has a 99% correlation with the per capita consumption of margarine. And that goes on for 10 years. That is super highly correlated. Now, I'm showing you these two things to make light of correlation over causation. And there's nothing light about your money not growing and asking yourself the wrong questions. But it's so important to just make sure you're looking at the right information the right way. And you guys know it's not about more information. It's not about more data. It's actually about training and training your behavior and knowing what questions to ask at the right time so you can make sure that you're on the right side of the market. So the takeaway is correlation or causation, causation, causation. Look for what causes things to happen, right? And to me, looking at the price charts is most important. It's not the only thing. The outcome is not understanding price charts. That is a tool that you want to use. The outcome is the stability, is the freedom, is the choices, is the security for yourself, for your family, for your daughters, for your sons, for your boys, for your girls, for your wife, for your husband. That's the outcome, knowing you're going to have enough or more than enough, knowing that you don't have to worry about it after the earnings runway goes away. And that's why training is so incredibly important. So guys, this is just another step in helping you protect your portfolio and your future. Until next time, this is RC Peck. Hey guys, I just want to let you know I am moving. I am making the move. I am leaving Silicon Valley after 19 years. I have finally hit the wall with the uptightness there, though that wasn't the only thing. I want to be around my family. As you know, my mom's a stage 3 cancer survivor, and she lives up in Seattle with my dad, my mom and dad. So I want to be near them, and I want to be near one of my sisters and her husband, my brother-in-law, and their family. And so we are making the move and moving up to Seattle, and it is just feeling amazing to have that family support. I just love that feeling. And having two little beauties, a 6 and a 9-year-old, and no real family support, I've just finally hit the wall and said, I want to be able to pick up the phone and call one of 4 adults and by law have them say, I will help you. Where do you need me to be? And so that is a big reason why we are moving up here. Plus, 19 years ago when I moved to Silicon Valley, it literally was a coin toss. Do I move to California or do I move to Washington? And growing up in Illinois and being a total Midwest boy, of course you move to California. That's where you move when you're from Ohio and Illinois and Indiana and Minnesota, all states that I've lived in. So I'm super excited about moving and shifting my energy up here, being around my family. Don't know how much longer my mom will be with us. So just really appreciating being around my mom while she's here. And before it was just a phone call, but now I get to see her and give her a kiss and hug her, and the kids get to just revel in my parents' love. And they call them Oma and Papa, and they do what grandparents are supposed to do, and they indulge them with sugar and video and food and toys and all the things they're supposed to do. Thank you guys so much for being in my world. I want to strongly suggest to you getting on the phone with me and having us identify that biggest gap of where you are right now and where you could be. And it's in that gap and filling that gap and putting the bridge over it, whatever metaphor, to really get the big shifts and changes in your life. And I don't know what you're going to love about that conversation, just how open and heartfelt and direct it is and safe it is to have that conversation, or the fact just having it and identifying where that biggest gap is even starts the acceleration, the safe acceleration of your money. But either way, you'll know when you get it. And I have made you pay $7 now. I'm putting a $7 pay window in front of it. $7 whole to get my time, my entire focus to look at your numbers, your behavior, and super, super satisfying for when I get on the phone and when you guys get on the phone with me. And that $7 literally is a barrier so you show up on time, ready to go. And I know it's a ridiculously low number, but it does an amazing job of filtering out what I call time vampires. You guys are so great. Thank you so much. I'll speak to you soon.